What if the only person who knows the secret of your family's shame is the man everyone in town warned you to never, ever trust? The old Victorian house on Hemlock Lane smelled of dust and disappointment. 5 years since she'd fled Willow Creek, and nothing had changed. Except her. Juliet Saint dropped her suitcase in the foyer, the weight of her failure pressing down. She'd only returned because her father, Arthur, was sick, his mind fading. Her best friend Lena enveloped her in a hug. "I'm so glad you're here, Jules. But you should know he's been asking for you." "Dad, no," Lena said, her voice dropping. "Samuel." A cold shiver traced Juliet's spine. "Why after what his family did to mine?" "He didn't give a reason. He just said to tell you he's waiting at the old clock tower. Tonight." But as dusk fell, Juliet found herself walking toward the town square. Samuel stood in the shadows, his presence a dark stain against the fading light. "Juliet Saint," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You're as beautiful as the day you ran away." "What do you want, Vaughn?" He stepped forward, and in his hand was a single, faded photograph. It was a picture of her mother, Catherine, standing with Samuel's late father, looking far more intimate than two acquaintances should. "I want to show you what really happened the night your family's legacy burned to the ground. And it wasn't an accident." Samuel led her to the gatehouse of the sprawling Vaughn estate, a place forbidden to her since childhood. The room was a shrine to the town's hidden history. "Your father didn't just get sick, Juliet. He was silenced," Samuel stated, his gaze intense. "He was getting too close to the truth about my father's death. And yours." Juliet's head spun. The great family feud was a fiction, a cover for something darker. "Why are you telling me this now?" she whispered. "Because I need your help to prove it," he said, moving so close she could feel the heat from his body. "And because whoever did this is still here." Just then, a rock crashed through the window, wrapped in a note. Samuel snatched it, his face hardening as he read. Mark, his groundskeeper, burst in. "Sir, we have a problem at the main house." Samuel showed her the note. "Stop digging or she's next." He looked at her, his expression a terrifying mix of fury and fear. "It seems, Juliet, you're already a part of this. They know you're with me." His hand found hers, a brief, startling gesture of protection that sent a forbidden warmth through her veins. She hated how safe it made her feel. "It's a trick, Juliet," her mother Catherine insisted, wringing her hands in their kitchen. The scent of medicinal tea hung in the air. "Samuel Vaughn is manipulating you, just like his father tried to do." But later, sitting by her father's bedside, Arthur gripped her hand with surprising strength during a moment of lucidity. "The ledger, Juliet," he rasped. "Find the silver ledger. It's all there. Don't trust anyone." He fell back into sleep. A silver ledger. He'd never mentioned it. She found Samuel at the overgrown family cemetery, standing before his father's headstone. "My father mentioned a silver ledger," she said. Samuel turned, a grim satisfaction in his eyes. So, he did hide it. He knelt, brushing away leaves from the base of the headstone. "My father told me the truth was buried with the saints." He pressed a hidden latch, and a small compartment swung open. Inside was a single, tarnished silver key. "This doesn't open a door," Samuel breathed, his knuckles white. "It opens a vault. And I think it's hidden in your family's mausoleum." The air left her lungs. He was asking her to help him desecrate her ancestors' resting place. His eyes met hers, pleading, and she felt the dangerous pull of his mission and of the man himself. The answer to the question is simple. You trust him because your heart, against all reason, already does. The iron gate of the Saint Mausoleum groaned open, the sound echoing in the silent, moonlit cemetery. The air inside was cold and thick with the scent of old stone and decay. Samuel's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating marble tombs. "It has to be here," he murmured, his voice a hushed reverence in the sacred space. His hand brushed against her back to guide her, and the touch, even through her coat, was electric. She flinched away. "Don't. I'm not the enemy, Juliet," he said, his eyes holding hers in the dim light. "Then why does everyone think you are?" she countered, her voice trembling. He crowded her against a cold marble slab, his body a wall of heat. "Because it's easier to blame a monster than face a complicated truth." His gaze dropped to her lips. "Because it's easier to hate me than to feel this." And then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was a clash of teeth and desperation, a confession of 5 years of anger and longing. She kissed him back, her hands fisting in his jacket, surrendering to the terrifying thrill. A loud click echoed through the chamber. The wall behind her shifted. The kiss had pressed a hidden mechanism. They pulled apart, breathless, staring at the now open secret compartment. Inside lay not a ledger, but a stack of love letters. The first one began, "My dearest Catherine, our secret will destroy both our families." The letter was signed by Samuel's father. The secret wasn't business. It was an affair. Her mother and his father were in love. Confronting her mother was a quiet storm. Catherine crumbled, the elegant facade shattering into a million pieces. "We were going to leave," she whispered, clutching a faded ribbon. "Arthur found out the night of the fire. He was so angry, he went to the Vaughan Manor to confront Charles." Juliet's blood ran cold. "What happened?" "I don't know," her mother sobbed. "There was a struggle. Charles fell. Arthur came home, covered in ash, and said it was an accident. We buried the truth, and the feud was our shield." Samuel listened from the doorway, his face a mask of stone. His father hadn't been murdered. It was a tragic accident. The man Juliet had been taught to hate was just another victim of the same lie. Later, in the gatehouse, the tension between them had shifted. The air was thick with shared grief and a confusing, painful empathy. "All these years," Samuel said, his voice raw, "I thought it was cold-blooded murder." "I'm very sorry," Juliet whispered. He turned to her, his eyes reflecting her own torment. "What do we do now?" She had no answer. He cupped her face, his thumbs stroking her cheek, and this time his kiss was different. It was slow, deep, and filled with a devastating tenderness that shattered the last of her defenses. This was worse than hatred. This was understanding. This was forgiveness. This was the beginning of a love that felt like ruin. As they broke apart, a shadow moved past the window. Mark, the groundskeeper, was watching them, a grim, knowing look on his face before he melted back into the darkness. He knew everything. Mark wasn't just a loyal servant. He was Charles Vaughan's illegitimate son, and he'd been waiting for his inheritance. He confronted them in the main hall of the Vaughan Manor, his usual stoicism replaced with cold rage. "You think a tragic accident clears the slate?" He sneered at Samuel. "Your father promised me everything. The affair, the cover-up, it was all going to be mine once he was gone. But your father's accident ruined my plans. Now I'll just take it." He lunged, but Samuel was faster. A brutal fight ensued, ending with Samuel pinning Mark to the floor. As the police led Mark away, Samuel turned to Juliet, a fresh cut on his lip. The danger was over, but the cost was laid bare between them. In the ensuing days, they tried to piece their lives back together. The truth was out. The town was in shock, but a fragile peace settled. Standing at the edge of the lake on his property, Samuel took her hand. "The ruin was never just yours, Juliet. It was ours. We were both living in the wreckage of a lie." He looked at her, his soul in his eyes. Stay. Help me build something new from it. Juliet looked at their joined hands, at the man who had been her enemy, her obsession, her confessor, and now, her future. She hated how much she loved him, but she loved him nonetheless. It wasn't a neat, happy ending. It was a complicated beginning, born from ash and secrecy. Yes, she said. And for the first time, it felt like the truth. Subscribe for more stories where love walks the razor's edge between vengeance and obsession.